Now, believe it or not, that's what the owner's manual for the 2012 Mazda 3 looks like. My dad would call it a Bible or Talmud because it's so huge, but well, it's half of it is in French. Another one, they also give you like this quick start manual, which is great. It you know, has good pictures and shows you you know, like all your controls, for example. You know, and if you get a message on the gauge, they'll go. And I learned quite a few things, like interesting technical stuff. You know, for example, I never had this key, right? And I didn't realize that this key actually has a chip inside. So this car comes standard with the key alarm, but the key also has engine immobilizer inside. So you cannot open it with a basic key. And I talked to my insurance company, and they asked me about engine immobilizer. I didn't know. So yesterday I found out about this, and now I just called them, and they gave me another $1 off per month. The service manager told me that actually from the factory, this car comes with all synthetic oil, you know, which is great because normally cars come from with regular oil, and then if you want to switch, it's like, you know, $100, and each time you have to do an oil change, it costs a lot of money. Like these guys give you synthetic oil right from the start, and the service at the Mazda there, they said it's like $55, you know, and you get the same synthetic oil. I love this. Next thing I liked is that I was wondering, you know, I have the radio, right? Like, where the heck is the antenna? There's no antenna on the front, on the sides, nothing. And then I started reading the manual, and it says your antenna is on your rear window. This is, you know, unbelievable. So I thought it was just you know, to de-ice the window. So these are de-ices, I think, but this on the top here, that's the actual antenna. This is amazing, right? And then another thing I learned is that, you know, sometimes manuals are pretty useless, and but sometimes they do have good info. And yesterday I found that Mazda even took time to, you know, recommend you the shifting points. This is what they recommend. See, they have two kind of patterns. One is for acceleration, and one is for cruising. And they both start from the first gear. So I don't know exactly what they mean by cruising, but I think cruising is more like for fuel economy, when you don't want to, you know, get 200 kilometers an hour in 2 seconds. But basically, here's for acceleration. They say first to second gear, and they use speed, not RPM. So first to second, you shift to 21 kilometers an hour, 2 to 3 39, 3 to 4 55, and 4 to 5 80. But based on what I learned yesterday when I was cruising around town, that's a bit too high, because you can go into 50, like it says here in the cruising. On the cruising tip sheet, it says you can shift from 4 to 5 at 70, and that's more like it. You know, if you don't want to, you know, abuse the engine and just gonna pick up speed slowly, that's what I find. Basically, first to second around 18, 2 to 3 30, 3 to 4 50. And then I was driving, you know, like 60 kilometers an hour at the speed limit, and it was very comfortable doing that in fourth gear. And I actually was wondering, what do you go into fifth gear? 80, 90, and you see they say 70. 70 if you want to pick up speed slowly, or 80 if you want to pick up aggressively. About the braking period. So here's what Mazda says in terms of braking periods. It says no special braking is necessary, but a few precautions in the first 1,000 kilometers or 600 miles may add to the performance, economy, and life of your Mazda. Do not race the engine. Do not maintain one constant speed, either slow or fast, for a long period of time. Do not drive constantly at full throttle or high engine RPM for extended periods of time. Avoid unnecessary hard stops, and avoid full throttle starts. Now, fuel requirements for the non-turbo Skyactiv 2.0 or my engine MZ or MZR 2.0 and MZR 2.5, they say regular fuel, so 87, but they say make sure you do not have more than 10% ethanol And this is kind of funny because in Canada, I checked at Shell, for example, and there's a sticker right on the pump which says that 87 does have 10% ethanol, and if you go to 89, it has 5%. And that's one of the reasons why I use Premium 91 on my Ford, because here in Canada it has 0 ethanol. But evidently 10% is still okay. I hate
now
this
here's
ethanol.
something else interesting. It says here, emission control system. Your vehicle is equipped with an emission control system. The catalytic converter is part of the system, which enables your vehicle to comply with existing exhaust emissions requirements, which by itself, of course, is okay, because each car now has this. But at the bottom, they say, while the engine is off, the sound of a valve opening and closing can be heard at the rear of the right side of the vehicle. Which, you know, makes me think, so maybe that huge thing behind the rear axle is really not just a muffler, but it has the converter inside it. Then it'll be problematic, you know, trying to take that off and put in just a regular muffler, because probably the red light will go on. Yeah, and one last thing I wanted to mention is that I was curious what they recommend in terms of idling before, after starting the engine, and before, you know, driving away. And they say here in part 5, they say after starting the engine, let it idle for about 10 seconds. That's it. So you don't have to idle it long and just burn too much fuel. But in a note here it says, in extremely cold weather or after the vehicle has not been driven in several days, let the engine warm up without operating the accelerator. And, you know, I'm kind of wondering what the heck they mean by that, because on this dashboard I have I have nothing. I don't even have the gauge for the coolant temperature. Actually, wait a second. I remembered now. Actually, there's another cool thing I learned about this car, is that in this booklet here, in the quick startup guide, see here, that blue thing? See, blue, and I noticed that thing disappeared, and I was, you know, thinking, what the heck is that? It turns out when you start the engine and you see this, that's low engine coolant temperature. The light comes on when the engine coolant is cold and goes out when the engine coolant reaches normal operating temperature. The vehicle may be driven when the light is on or off. The heater and defroster work best when light is off. So that's what they are saying. So of course red means that your engine is overheating, but that's something new to me. So basically they recommend to idle the engine just for 10 seconds before moving, or in cold weather, when it had been sitting for a long time, you just wait till that blue thermometer icon disappears on your odometer. So I guess that's it. But there's a lot of interesting things about this little car. It seems, you know, like pretty advanced for a 4-door sedan. Interesting. Thanks, Mazda, for a great vehicle.